people called the Apiru taking over the land, undoubtedly the Israelites. It talks about the different cities that are being taken over by these Apiru people up in the central hill country. And nowhere in the letters does it mention anything about Jericho. And so it appears that in 1350 BC, Jericho was not in existence. No one was living there. And so Garstang reasoned then that the destruction must have happened after the period of this pottery that he was able to date to the 15th century and before 1350 BC. And so he said around 1400 is the date for the destruction of Jericho, and he was absolutely right. He did a wonderful job of analyzing his pottery. He published it all in great detail. Kenyon never published any kind of an analysis. She just made off-the-cuff statements about what she thought the date should be. All right, that's enough on the dating and pottery. Now let's look at some of the findings and compare these findings with what the Bible tells us. We all know about the walls of Jericho falling. We even have a song that talks about the walls of Jericho falling. And so we want to have a look at these walls, and we've talked a little bit about it already. On the left is a schematic of the tell, where we have that upper wall, then the whole place was surrounded by an earthen embankment, and then there was a lower wall. And on the right we have kind of a cross-section through that, showing that upper wall made of mud bricks. Then the blue area is the earthen embankment. And then at the base of that, we have a retaining wall here, a stone, Kenyon called it a revetment wall. It's simply a retaining wall, and that held in place that earthen embankment. And that stone wall went right down to bedrock. And then on top of that was built another mud brick wall. These mud brick walls are about 2 meters, about 6 feet thick. And a wall in antiquity would be about 3 times as high as it was wide, maybe even 4 times as high. And so these walls were 18, maybe 24 feet high. And this is what the Israelites were looking at as they marched around the city each day for 7 days. They were outside here on this level land at the base of the tell. So they were looking first of all at this stone facing there, that revetment wall, which is about 15 feet high. Then a mud brick wall, maybe 20 feet high, a very steep embankment, another mud brick wall, 20 feet high or so. And so as they marched around that, they must have been thinking, wow, how are we ever going to get into this city? But they believed God, didn't they? They obeyed God, and through faith, those walls came down. Humanly speaking, there was absolutely no way the Israelites could ever capture the city of Jericho. Well, we have the account in Joshua 6 where it talks about the people shouted when the priests blew with the trumpets, and it happened when the people heard the sound of the trumpet, that they shouted with a great shout, and then the wall fell down flat. So that the people went up into the city, every man straight before him, and they took the city. Now the Hebrew here is very, very precise. The English translations always say the wall fell flat. And that's not bad, but it's not precise. The Hebrew here actually means the wall fell beneath itself. That's the literal translation of the Hebrew. And now that we know from archaeology the situation with these walls up on that embankment, when they fell, they indeed fell beneath themselves down to the base of the mound. And then notice what the Scripture says, that after the walls fell, the people went into the city? Well, yes, but how? They went up into the city. Now the critics say this is a legend. How did the writer of the legend know that they had to go up into the city? We didn't know that until excavations showed us that the city is up on a high hill. And to get up to it, you had to go up this embankment, which was actually part of the fortification system. This description in Joshua chapter 6, verse 20, is an eyewitness account of somebody who was there and saw what happened. The Hebrew is very, very precise and detailed. Now here's that outer stone wall. And this is a section uncovered by the Italians in 1997, 1998. And it gives you a little idea of what the Israelites were facing. That's just the retaining wall. Then on top is the mud brick wall, and up at the top of the tower, another mud brick wall. Just a massive fortification system. Look at the size of these stones, huge stones. And down here is the ground level where the Israelites were walking. Very, very impressive. And on the right is a view along that retaining wall. Now you notice some walls here, some structures. You can see a little bit of it over here as well. When they built this wall, they cut through some buildings that were already in existence in this area. And that is very fortunate. Now this is the only area where buildings have been found like that have been cut through. You can see it very clearly here where they cut a foundation trench all the way down to bedrock for the founding of this stone retaining wall. Well, it turns out that based on the pottery in the buildings here that were cut through, that happened at the very end of the Middle Bronze period or the very beginning of the Late Bronze I period. So that's when the fortification system was built, that final fortification system. There were some earlier ones, but the one that was there when the city was destroyed was built around 1500 BC. So this is even after Kenyon's date for the destruction. And the destruction itself has to be, of course, later than that. So the Italian work here is providing more evidence to support the 1400 BC date for the final destruction of the city. Now, here on the left is from Kenyon's dig, her west trench. She uncovered this wall, and then she trenched through it. On the right is some mud bricks on top of the stone wall. Just one course of bricks still left there. Unfortunately, well, you can see just a bit of it here on Kenyon's dig. She found just one course of that mud brick wall. The rest of it had collapsed and fallen to the base of the tell. Here's Kenyon's what we call a balk drawing, a